Welcome back, noble heroes. We return to Mythia, once again, absent Tyler, unfortunately, and Roland for this session. We left our characters in Garen, and we left on a most unfortunate event last session. But we shall not dwell upon the past at all. Nothing shall come of that. We shall instead look to a totally separate part of the world in which a very different type of dangerous event is occurring. The Path of Veins is a pitch-black tunnel that runs the length of the pits, winding down like a cavernous river through the heart of the world. It connects the pit in many places with the umbral dark, providing practice to newly made devils to guard and slay the darkness. Githalfix waited at the very end of the path in the Daedaran, the house of the Heartflame. He stood in Satan's most preferred form, that of a refined gentleman about 40,000 years out of fashion for these modern times. The race could vary, but he was always a male. Ever since he had once too closely resembled someone important to his master, someone who Githalfix, the first of his red children, was not privileged to know. Welcome back, sire. His ritualistic greeting had been heard by Satan for the last eon. Report. Is Isaac back on his feet yet? The servant could tell that his master was in a mood for quick information, so he dropped the pleasantries and began to follow his stride. Our imps report that they teleported to Garen, as you foresaw, sire. The tiefling's machine appears to be repairing his body from the savaging you gave him. And the rest? Were there any true casualties on their side? No, sire. It seems that the shrine you created worked as intended. Award Nakalthept the rank of counsel for that idea. I want to see them at my planning meetings from now on. And speaking of counsel, call them immediately. I want to see everyone in the Daedaran in 20 minutes. Yes, sire. Satan waited impatiently. Finally, everyone was there. He gazed over his intelligentsia and saw that everyone was clearly waiting for him to explain. Only Nakalthept seemed to be pleased with his actions. Before he opened his mouth, though, one of his daughters couldn't wait to speak. Sire, were they truly so strong as to escape mostly intact? Her baiting question was meant to elevate her own status among his more rebellious children. A pang of great annoyance flitted through his mind. Sisera, do you remember the soul you were cut from? At the strange question, the Iran's brows furrowed. I certainly do. It was what, 10,000 years ago? A deranged killer who was caught because he made his calling card trinkets at the local blacksmith. A few of the devils chuckled and looked at each other. Is this the same logic that you bring to my table? The nonsensical prattle of the criminally mad? Perhaps, if you gave some thought to your actions beyond your own social climbing, you might see the inner workings of wiser minds than your own. The fierce dressing down of a high-ranked Iran put everyone on edge. This was far harsher criticism than Satan had chosen to dole out for centuries, and never for so small a slight. If Sisera was being lashed, any of them could be. The table looked like it had been struck, though some of Sisera's enemies could be seen smirking. Satan turned on them. And you, in your scheming, did you divine my intentions in the battle with the fated questers? Though the pair was caught off guard, after a moment's thought, one of them answered tentatively. Clearly, you wish to test them, sire. See if they are truly aided by fate still, or if they wave in the breezes of luck. At this assessment, Satan calmed down. Yes, that was one of my reasons. As many of you know, sometimes, but very rarely, fate creates a shell of protection over prophesized individuals, making them extremely resilient and nigh unkillable. Such a group can throw off even the most carefully laid plans. I had to know if they benefited from such protections, Satan stated, willing his anger to subside, but it stuck around resolutely. And do they? One of his council asked. It is difficult to tell. The halfling's surprising resurrection seemed to suggest that fate is at least aiding them through circumstance. They did prove more capable than I initially imagined, but perhaps that's because they had many allies that we didn't foresee, including the giant king Orega and Pit, with a creature of elder darkness. Juniper also had a great deal of stored power, more than she usually holds on to at any given moment. I might have thought the battle with the Guardian would have weakened them more, but Isaac Crowley apparently dominated the beast and forced it into our realm. The tiefling? Surely not, sire. It must have been the godmother. Even Gathalfix was surprised by this revelation. No. I saw the truth of the matter in the tiefling's face. He's grown into his powers, no longer just awakening the beasts, but even forcing their hands. Damleth was correct in his assessment of the tiefling. It's good he never joined the hand. The surprise around the table was palpable, but Drith, a quiet and unusually sly devil, spoke through the murmur. Sire, you say it was one of the reasons you engaged. I know I am not alone in wondering your fool intentions. Surely all those who watch for magical spikes now know that we have entered the world and might guess at our future intentions. What benefit is worth the risk we incurred? The table fell silent, waiting for his answer. He thought how to address the question for several moments. As you all know, I have struggled with the choice whether to execute my plan. The cost is extremely high, and I was internally conflicted. For all of your entire existence, I have only been as I am now, father to all of you. But for far longer than that, I was with them. For 6 of them, I doubt any of you will ever be with me as long. I pray you never see such length to your lives. The table was silent. Satan often avoided speaking about the before times, even before creation. Most of them wondered, some even craved the information he was now freely speaking of. After a moment's pause, his next words struck like a lash. None of you have ever been as close to me as they were. The looks of hurt and anger around the table were true and bitter. Satan raised his eyes and saw them. He stood. You were not made to keep me comfortable. I did not build a nation of companions. I built a nation of warriors, of assassins, and wizards. I built the greatest army this world has ever known. His fist slammed down on the table, fracturing the stone beneath his hand. Today, that Satan is gone, as was my hope.
Good job, UV.
Euphemia was successfully able to take it from me. My feelings on the matter are no longer relevant. Satan gave a wry chuckle and whispered something to himself under his breath. Now I see your wisdom, Juniper. Fate bent is a far more potent tool than I ever thought possible. His voice rose again. I fought them so they could take my weakness from me. As of today, all of devil kind is united in a single purpose. Recall all our forces, empty the houses of cutting, and send messages to all of our allies. He stopped then, feeling the weight of his decision. That weight had stopped him so many times, had stayed his hand. But he felt it was lighter than before. The memories no longer hurt him so, but they did still hurt. What should we tell them, sire? A wide-eyed devil prompted in a stuttering tone. Tell them we ascend.
Well, shit. Yeah.
We actually begin in the Doomridge, or moments before we appear in the Doomridge. All right, everyone, Harper says as he walks up to the teleportation circle laid bare on the floor of the Citadel, down deep in the magical recesses of it. Get ready. As soon as we come out, we don't know what we're facing. Opt, be ready for small minions. Valine, you're with me. Roland, centerize yourself. The half-elf paladin is going to nod towards Harper, step resolutely with a grim expression on his face to the center of the circle. And he points at the wizards, who are going to begin to chant. There is a flicker between two realities, this one and the portal temple in the Doomridge. As soon as they appear, Harper's warning was worth its weight in gold. Immediately, creatures of darkness rise up out of the ruined temple floor surrounding them. All of the heroes leap into action. Harper, using his blade, is going to slice elongatedly, cutting several of them more than 20 feet away from himself in half. Faeline is going to leap with a triple axle spin into battle, shoving her long blades into the hearts of many creatures of darkness, while Op's arrows fly like machine gun bullets from his bow. Roland, standing in the center, is looking for a kill. He swipes at one, but no, Faeline got it. He goes towards another, and yet its legs suddenly are falling in half as Harper has cut it. He looks around when suddenly a great shadow appears in the corner of the room, and a massive beast rises from the floor. "Roland!" Harper says. Roland notices the difference now. That before he was running to the foe, this time it feels like it's being herded to him. As he waits, he takes a measure for one moment and then hears a voice in his head. "Don't worry, friend. We've got this." He leaps up into the air. With the darkness creatures around him falling into shreds, he slams his great lance into the creature's heart, and a great burst of paladin's light destroys the creature utterly in one single blow. "You didn't get that one. You would have been owing the drinks tonight," Op says as he looks around, arrows in more than 100 creatures' skulls. "Where is she?" "I don't know." Faeline looks around the empty temple now. The creatures of darkness' corpses are blocking some of the sights, but both of her and Op go to the floor to try to find some footsteps. They search around for nearly 15 minutes before they find that the footsteps that were inside and abruptly ended appear again outside, but there's more than one pair of them. "Well, this one's Leslie," Op says, looking down. "And this one, slightly bigger than her, but lighter," he says, tracing his fingers lightly over the grass marks. "And this is Solar, her light golem, a creation of her lantern." "But who are you?" Opt whispers, looking down at the footsteps. "Let's move. We have to find her before nightfall. Those creatures were certainly not the only ones in the Doom Ridge." And with that, the heroes set off to find Leslie, and the one who mysteriously came with her. Juniper, give me a place where you are in the middle of the afternoon.
June is... Well, she was going to be learning from Shadow, but I'm assuming Shadow's definitely with Roland, so... she's probably with Rafe at her house.
You have an angelic finger curling one of your bangs at this moment.
What? Why are you looking at me?
What is the state of you?
I'm sorry?
With that description, what's your state of being?
They are currently sitting on a love seat in her house and drinking probably tea. She's leaning against him.
1 to 10. What do you think of this haircut? He says.
She leans her head back and kind of observes him. I think you're getting a little long at the ends. You could use a trim, but otherwise I like it.
Did you like it when you had bangs?
She goes, I always found that they got on my nerves. Got in my eyes while we were researching. Why?
For like 1 month, you rocked that top knot that you had on the adventuring day. Do you remember that?
That's because I didn't get to wash my hair that day.
I think you were trying something new.
He knows for a fact that she could easily just snap her fingers and wash her hair. She is attempting to hide her embarrassment because she hated that look.
He's going to reach over and pick up a, for all intents and purposes, a photograph of you from long ago. I was just thinking about this look. how many guises do you have active right now?
She pauses and thinks. 24 active, but only 16 that I actively use.
I am thinking about making use of one of my own here in Garen.
Which one?
Kalmar, he says. I was hoping to get some insight into the sword pact business.
Out of game, remind me what the sword pact business is again?
The event enacted by the kings that restricts immigration into Garen.
Okay.
I want to see its limitations. Garen's military being completely shut in to its own nation is going to affect the world in a significant manner. Especially with what happened in Bridgewalk.
She nods. What are your thoughts on doing so?
As soon as he begins to speak, your mirror is going to vibrate.
A moment, dear. She reaches into her pouch and pulls it out. She tilts it away from him slightly so that he could see, but he can't be seen.
Juniper, how are you? Annalise says from across the mirror.
Hi. I'm sorry we left you in Bridgewalk.
It's all right. I have managed to make it to the wheelhouse finally.
My apologies. It was hectic.
How are you?
I'm well now. She will very quickly fill her in on what happened.
I don't quite have enough time to hear the whole thing.
It's
In fact, I'm calling you
highlight.
with some urgency.
Oh, what's wrong?
There was a council vote. A tie. I'm afraid that you're needed to break that tie.
Well,
It's concerning a significant change to the Godmothers.
is this a minor or a major council?
The Major Council.
Well, then I guess I should head there.
As soon as you can, please.
Of course. I'm in Garen, so it's not hard.
That's what I was hoping.
She kind of tilts it so she can see him next to me.
Zarafan, how are you?
She
He
was
says.
basically stalling her going into the details.
I'm well. But what do you think about bangs? He says. Elsewhere. Isaac, what are you doing in the middle of the day?
He would have sent Prongor off to the blacksmiths with... He sent Prongor off to the blacksmiths with the schematics for his shield. He trusts Prongor to take care of that on his own. And then he himself has gone to the library. He was going to go to the Library of Garen, and then June said that a better library would be...
In my house. No,
Cool.
not my house. I lied.
Zaratan.
Thank you.
Right, so he's making his way there.
I was like, no, that's not where I put that.
On the way, he's kind of like thinking and planning and ruminating about all of the stuff going on in Mythia and how it's probably too much for them to handle. And he's trying to think of how it is he can bring more people into the fold to help them kind of fight some of these fires.
As you look at the small list of heroes given to you by the kings that might be of some aid, you see names which you know. Tamil the Juggernaut, Canis the Hawk. Others, you have no idea. There are names on here which you're sure that even if you were well versed in herodom, you probably wouldn't know. A list of almost 25 names. Some of these people are definitely not going to be able to help you for sure, but some of them might. Either way, they were resources that you could potentially tap. As you travel into the gardens of the Zardan, you are going to search around like on a college campus, a vast network of buildings connected by very pleasant courtyards and walk paths with nice, lush greenery. You're going to see students and it reminds you very thoroughly of the campus you were on when you first joined the Clerics of Heaven's Light back in Selenox, a place just outside the city in a forest that was also full of greenery, a place where you found many like-minded colleagues when you were a much different man. You find yourself in front of... You find a building which the local students have directed you towards called the Amberfont Wing. And you see a tiny little shrine out in front of it. This is a fat, pot-bellied shrine of a tiny little man. These little creatures are manifestations. They're not real, as far as anyone knows. They're like mythological creatures. Little, tiny, fat, Buddha-like creatures that smoke little pipes, and their smoke rings apparently provide ideas to the wise. These little creatures sit outside of vastly important centers of knowledge in most cities. And as you walk to this one, it has a tiny little jar accepting tips that go on to the to make donations to the Collegium. And this one happens to be quite full at the moment. And you see a couple of guys eating lunch, like sitting around it as you walk into the building. They're going to look over towards you with curiosity on their faces. It's clear that you're not exactly the normal student body. As you enter, you see that it is a hollowed chamber. There are 2 stories, and it looks like there's some kind of attic far up above where you can hear the footsteps of maybe another tiefling up there. You will see the library caretakers at their counters where you check out the books, and you see vast shelves of library books around you. Many of them astute tomes. As you begin to go searching around this place, what topics are you searching for?
Ancient history.
What time frame?
As far back as they have.
Okay. Go ahead and give me an intelligence check.
Just flat intelligence.
Yes.
Okay. 7.
All right. For about 2 hours, you are going to search through ancient history, finding a smattering of interesting factoids, but almost no mention at all in this collection of books that you have acquired about any of the topics that you were currently searching for.
Okay. If I don't find anything in history, then he's going to go to the section on like magic and artifacts.
Okay.
And can I ask Asher for help? If that would help my roll any.
Ducking around a large bookshelf in the mostly unoccupied section that you are currently in, you are going to whisper to Asher, awakening the skull of the tiefling. Greetings, he says. Ask your question.
Think of how I want to phrase this. Asher, if I wanted to know more about the staff that you rest upon, which category of studies, academia, would you look through in this library?
I would look through modern history, the last 30,000 years.
Isaac's going to like squint at him. And then he's going to start walking towards that area.
Asher's going to say, you are looking for a specific name. Catherine.
Asher, question number 2, how do you spell that?
He will tell you. Cathrine.
Erine. Okay.
As you search, you are going to easily find the name Catherine. Once, during the Age of Magic, it appears as though she was the leader of a now non-existent paladin order here in Giran. Apparently, according to these tomes, the clerical and paladin orders were actually separate wings of the military in Giran back then, extremely powerful and politically potent. But almost immediately upon searching for her, you will find the Days of Darkness, an event in history that is synonymous with Catherine, in which she descended into madness and became a Death Knight, and worked in secret against Giran, eventually leading a rebellion against the Order of Clerics, almost destroying both orders and causing a political shift in the city in which the clerical and paladin orders were taken and wrapped up into the greater military, put into the normal ranks and not separated any longer, and are now much smaller factions of the city.
Okay.
In one of the bylines, you will hear, a marked rumor that Catherine was thought to have possessed the blade Care for a short period of time during the rebellion, and used it to kill the leader of the clerical order at the time, who was a Meldiev Hawkholm, was her name, one of the founders of the halfling capital of Hawkholm. But these events are extremely lightly covered.
Yeah. Did it say what race Catherine was?
She was a human.
Okay. You said that was the Tiefling capital?
Halfling capital.
Halfling.
In the Halfling Hills.
Yeah.
Kind of a name is Hawkholm for a halfling.
That's what I was thinking.
For tiefling.
For tiefling.
That's what I meant.
We're all getting confused.
Ah!
Maybe they like birds. I don't know.
Do you like birds?
Me personally? Yeah, why?
You find yourself looking at these books with some level of frustration on the surface that they cover. None of these events go deep enough to give you any kind of secrets.
Okay. Isaac feels as if he can find this blade. It might help reveal more about the staff, but that's a long shot. I've got one more question left with the staff.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to try... Well, no, that was history.
I will remind you that while Asher is adept at knowing about magic and fate, it is Morganth who knows about history.
Yeah, I know. Because I asked Asher just now, but then Asher...
Valash is the historian.
I asked Asher, and then Asher directed me to the history section.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, he's a smart guy, too.
Yeah.
He knows a little bit.
I'll try and double down on the history section of the library, but actually ask Valash this time instead of Asher.
All right. As
Same
you step
question.
behind a bookshelf, using your third question of the day, the staff is going to vibrate with a dangerous aura. Ask your question, Master Isaac, Valash says.
I'm trying to learn more about the staff that you are tied to. Where would I look upon this mountain of books in this library to find more?
As Morganth's people would say, you're digging the wrong mountain, Master. The Garen libraries have the personal journals of Catherine the Great. Secrets to be found there.
She kept journals.
Not publicly, Master.
I wonder for how long she kept them. Past the point of her descent? We can
You
only
will
hope.
need special permissions.
Let's see if I can figure out where they're being kept. Isaac will deactivate the staff, and he will go back towards the entrance of the library and see if he can find some sort of central desk with someone of authority that he can talk to.
You will find what you would imagine is probably the head librarian. He is wearing quite hefty spectacles. He has old, wild hair, gray and stringy, and appears to be poring over a huge amount of books.
Isaac is going to approach quietly. Does the person seem like they're really immersed in what they're doing, or?
Yes.
Okay. He'll go, pardon me, if you don't mind,
He's going to, snap his eyes up. Yes?
By order of the kings, I've been asked to review some confidential documents. I was hoping you could show me where they are. And he's going to pull out the edict and show it to him.
Order of Kings, he says. What documents are you searching for?
The journals of Catherine. I was told they're being kept here.
He says, you've been lied to. They're kept in the Garen Library.
Is this not the Garen Library? He's going to say, lying.
No, it's not. Did you not see it's the Amberfont wing of the Zaratan College? Who are you?
I'm sorry. This is my first time in Garen. I think I may have gotten lost. Can you tell me how to get there?
Sure, he says. He's going to kind of look you over, but he doesn't seem to have anything innately suspicious to, get you on or anything.
Yeah.
So he just gives you directions.
Okay.
He says, I hope your business with whatever strangeness is happening goes well, sir. Would you like me to call you a cab?
That's quite all right. Thank you, though. I appreciate your help.
Are you put all right there, son? He says, pointing down at your leg.
What's wrong with my leg?
As you look down at your leg, you're going to be alarmed. Your skin looks bad. Black. Like it's rotting.
Why can he see his leg is the question I want to know.
Like it sticks out just a little bit. His robe.
Like his ankles.
Gotcha.
His hoof ankles.
Isaac will keep his composure and kind of pull his robe around it and goes, oh, nothing, just a bit of a mishap during an adventure outside the city. Had a rough time getting to the city, that is.
Looked gangrenous, he says. You might want to get that checked out by a cleric.
I agree. Maybe I'll go do that first. And then Isaac will start making his way out.
All right.
Okay. Isaac's gonna exit the library and then find some secluded corner to shove himself into and then look at his leg because he wants to know what's happening.
As you pull it back, it honestly looks like your leg has burns on it. Your skin is wrinkled, blackened, and taut to the bone.
Can I make a medicine check to try and see if this is magically induced or if I just contracted some awful disease in the Doom Ridge?
You hear the words of yourself during the dream that the engine was responding to your desires.
Okay.
This might be something to do with you, quote-unquote, losing your immortality.
Yeah. All right. Isaac's going to start walking towards the Garen Library.
You leave. Yuffie. You are going to watch Kelrock and Jack go off down the street. How long do you wait there?
Only until they're out of sight.
As soon as they are about to turn the far street from you, you can really barely make them out at this point in the crowd, although they're both quite tall. You will suddenly see what you think is something thrown from the side of the street out of your sight line and hit Kalrock on the noggin.
Please tell me it's an egg. That's rotten. I'm not there.
Can she discern where that throw came from?
You can only discern that it came from a side street that you can't see currently. Maybe an alleyway?
Can she check it
But
out?
you do see that there is quite a bit of activity, like a swarm of alertness, and maybe trying to find the point of assault.
Okay.
You said you head down that direction?
She wants to know where that throw came from.
Okay. Give me a survival check with advantage, please.
Interesting. Okay. Survival. 18.
You flit easily through the streets of Garen using your long-time knowledge of cosmopolitan areas. And you have to weave through some of the back alleys to get in that direction just because it's so crowded. But you are suddenly going to run into Red coming the opposite way towards you.
She'll blink up at him.
Femia, he says. Hey, come with me, he says. And he's going to kind of put his arm on you and begin to... you hear, it was a masked man! Find him!
Euphemia's gonna look at him with a little bit of suspicion. Was that you?
He goes, who? What? Come on, hurry.
She'll hurry.
All right. I've been meaning to talk with you, he says while you begin to jog. I mean, like, not like this specifically, but like in general.
Uh-huh.
So, it was pretty awkward back in Bridgewalk. I meant to apologize to you. I wasn't meaning to make you blush or feel awkward or anything like that. But I am no longer in love with you, so if that was your life's goal, desires of heart, I'm afraid that it's past.
She stops running for just a moment and looks at him askance.
Bad idea. He's gonna, like, keep you moving.
She's gonna wait a beat and say,
There was about a 6-second period where I thought we could make it work, but then I saw how short you were and how much better looking you are than I am. And it
This is
decided
true.
otherwise.
although what about the short? What's wrong with me being short?
Well, I mean, even for a halfling, there's some limitations.
She just kind of reaches out and hits him wherever she can reach.
His knee?
Probably his knee. Right on the kneecap.
All right, he's gonna like trip and like falls into the wall. Yeah, okay, probably deserve that. He's gonna get up. All right, casually. He says as you walk out on the street, "Sir." Suddenly, 2 paladins are gonna run up to you. "Red Chaos," they say, saluting to him. "There was a masked man, apparently down the street. We're searching for him. Have you seen anyone, sir?" "Nope, afraid not," he says. Damn. The guards are going to look around. "All right, keep looking."
Man, your reputation is awfully useful, isn't it?
What reputation?
So, I'll set you at ease. It was never going to work between us.
Well, honestly, now that you say that, my heart kind of hurts, but I'll accept your decision. So when did you know for sure?
Immediately.
Damn, that's rough. I was even better looking back then. No, I got no chance.
You know you're charming, and you know that all the charm in the world doesn't make up for the fact that I have things I have to accomplish, and I can't really let anyone else hold me back.
Girl boss. I love it. He says.
Speaking of, I might need some help with something.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
I have a feeling this is going to be bad. Go ahead.
well, if you were hoping to have some trouble, I have plenty of it for you.
All right, hit me up.
She looks around. Is there anyone around who could, like, overhear them?
Doesn't matter, because I'm here.
All right.
Just remember, you're not going to remember that you told me this, though.
You can still help. Kelrock and Jake are obviously in town. I need some information from Kelrock, and I'd also love to maybe sabotage their ships before they leave. Can you help me out?
Well, that sounds like a diplomatic incident waiting to happen. Let me think. Sure.
Insight check. Does he...
He has a mask on, so go ahead and take a disadvantage.
Okay. $13.
When you give him an askance look, he goes, I mean, it's literally what I was born for.
Me too. Okay.
So, what's the deal? You steal their ship's sailing capabilities and it just plop sinks down to the bottom of the ocean?
Not sure if that's necessarily...
You steal his style and swagger and he embarrasses himself so that he commits suicide.
I'm liking that one more.
That's a great
You
idea.
steal the pauldrons off his coat and we could all realize he's 3 tiny midgets in a dress.
I'm positive that last one's wrong.
Yeah.
I think.
Alright, fine. Go ahead with your plan.
I haven't really had time to come up with a plan, per se.
Holy shit, Brett says, looking down the road. You suddenly see Bali approaching the two of you, waving her hands. She has a brand new, fashionable hairstyle.
What is the focus on hairstyles this session?
Good question.
You will see that she has dyed her normally blonde hair red and has given herself an undercut on the right side.
Molly has blonde hair?
Blonde.
Pretty sure it's brown, unless you all lied to me. And I
Doesn't
didn't
Polly's
paint it
Minnie
right.
have red hair? No,
And
it's brown
Johnny
hair.
has red hair. She's got
It's
brown.
like a light brown. Brownish.
Okay.
Definitely not red,
I
though.
don't
Also not blonde.
So it's undercut on just one side, so the other side it's still like going down.
Yes.
Nice. That's a good hairstyle.
I have a
I like
perfect
it.
image. I like it.
She's going to come forward. What do you think? She says, Hey, Red, how are you? I'm Hababa. I'm okay. Looking great.
It looks wonderful, honestly. Also, she grabs Bali and pulls her in. What do you think about us ruining a couple of pirate crews in the near future?
Again?
I mean, it is, you know,
Which ones this time?
Kelrock and Jake are in town.
Both of them?
Both of them.
How do you know?
I just ran into them and
She's going to, on her head, You didn't attack them, did you?
why would you say that?
Because you're smirking like that. Like I definitely did attack them. She has a specific smirk for that? I thought that was the come hither smirk.
I mean, they can be easily confused.
Violent.
He said that he tortured Rawl and got information on me and sold me out to that guy.
God damn, not that guy,
That
Brett
guy.
says.
Look,
Bali is going to look up at Red and then, like, alarmistly look down at you.
we don't have much time. I need to get our team together. I need someone who can cast sending to check on Rawl. And I think we might need Isaac's help too. Where is everybody?
She says, I don't know exactly. They're here. We're meeting up in about an hour back at the Citadel. She says. Well, Fortunately, we have access to the entirety of Garen's spy network. He's going to pull out a coin. Hey boys, I need a favor, he says. Jennifer.
Yes. Sorry, I was drawing Molly's hair.
You really are!
Frost is going to fall slowly from you. As you appear, back there is a familiar scent to the wheelhouse. Many have speculated that smell is caused by the friction of magic used to maintain the great building, pushing it together in the ether.
Smells like cinnamon.
But above that, much more noticeable, is the smell of fresh baked goods that flows through the hallways in great abundance.
Works well with the cinnamon.
As you step out from the portal mirror, you are going to find yourself in a great network of similar mirrors that go to many other places on Mythia. How does it feel to be home?
It feels like there's a great weight that just is sort of set to the side for a time. And she just feels like, I can breathe.
You will be greeted by several recognizable faces as you go to leave the area. How is Juniper... What is a walk through the wheelhouse like for Juniper?
Depends on if she's actually walking or if she takes a shortcut. How urgent was this said? It was said that it was pretty urgent, right?
It was, yes, but sometimes people dislike dropping in from the ether in the middle of a meeting.
Oh, she wasn't planning on dropping into the meeting. She could just drop in right outside it if she wants to.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to... Is Annalisa in the meeting, I assume?
She was in her office when she called you.
She's going to...
Probably about 10 minutes.
Okay, well, she's going to actually walk then. She wants to see the atmosphere and seeing if anything's going on. They said this was a change to the structure, so she's curious.
You see very little different in the wheelhouse. As you step out, you're going to see a flood of meek bodies moving along the floor, of many varieties of colors, mostly blue and light blue. However, you do see the occasional pink or a red meek even. At most, they get a crimson color. You will hear their voices chattering with each other amicably, planning some new project or outreach program. And you will see godmothers moving as variable as any humans in Garen, or any beings in Garen, not just humans. They look quite varied, but there is something to the eyes of a godmother, a forethought and a keenness that doesn't always come across in other people's on Mythia. They seem to be collaborative, working together towards the common good, and there is a high level of morale in the godmothers, one that you didn't find among the peoples of Bridgewater and Garen. It appears as though they know there are problems and they're trying to solve them. Moving through the area is like a very expensive commune of sorts. There are people working together everywhere, whether it be by the fountains at the gardens or in the office-like buildings where they have meetings and the magical laboratories down other halls. It is as beautiful as any palace or castle in the whole of Mythia. And yet there is an unearthly, otherworldly beauty that it possesses that cannot be described or refined anywhere else. As you walk into the main chamber.
Okay. As she's walking down the hallway, she's going to talk to a few people that she specifically remembers. There's a red meek who is floating about 3 feet off the ground. She goes, "Often floats, I see you got the control over the floating. Good job."
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah, the often floats occasionally often hits the ceiling by accident because he can't quite control the up and downs.
Often floats a godmother.
No, often floats is a meek who lives in the area.
Back for a council meeting?
Yes, I am.
You've been gone for so long, we were beginning to wonder if your office was going to change over. I know this is the first time in centuries you've left for so long.
You're right, it is.
I only wish I had such a long life.
There are goods and bad things about it.
I'm sure that you're right.
Well, keep up the good work.
By the way, there's banana bread in the office.
Ah. Was it Caleb?
Phalip.
Ah. She continues on. She glances over and sees Rosemary, who's a human godmother. Rosemary, how is that glass singing trellis going? Have you got it to stop going sharp?
I'm still working on it. You know, I actually began a completely different project in the time that you've been gone. You'll have to come by my office and check it out.
What are you starting?
She says, it's a sort of automatic music player, like a music box, but far more elaborate.
Sounds intriguing. I look forward to hearing it.
I'm hoping that I can find the right pitch in order to get Hydrus to fall asleep.
Try B flat.
D flat. Now lie flat. She says.
She will continue on.
Cookie, Jennifer? You'll see a massive, super muscular man with, leather barbarian armor on.
Is he a baker?
One of them, probably.
Instead of, oven mitts, he has, giant bear claws.
Ooh, of course. She takes it. It's, big. It's, sandwich size. What is it? Quesito?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's like that cookie.
So,
Yeah, the big as your head.
Right. As you take the cookie and crack it, it's going to make a primal roar, determining by its quality of baking.
Very nice.
He says, next I go for the eagle's cry.
What about a griffin?
He says, it'll have to be big. He looks down at the challenge.
Peanut butter?
Peanut butter. He says.
She nods and continues on as nibbling at the... Thank you. Nibbling at the cookie as she goes.
Finally, you are going to step into a room with... You sense an undercurrent of tension. As you enter the council chamber, you are going to see your fellow council members, including Galamut, who you saw in the Skywing drapery. You will look across the room, and you see that almost everybody is here already, and they are going to look up as you enter. In addition to Galamut, Falzra Alec, the Good Witch of the North, a woman who is constantly in disguise. Currently, she is in a young, red-headed human form, very beautiful and adventurous looking. The group around the table is going to notice you, and Galamut will come up towards you. Jennifer, I meant to give you greater thanks for what you were able to do for the Skywing. We are making repairs, and I was wondering if you wanted an update.
Perhaps after this?
Indeed.
She smiles at each person on the council. Each of them have been her friends for a very long time.
The Furblog is going to return to his seat, and we will return back to the council momentarily, Noble Heroes. But first, I'd like to go ahead and thank you for joining us. Remind you to please give us a like and a subscribe if you would. And remember, do try this at home. Thank you.